Hey everybody, Ryan Molly here, and this is going to be a really, really fun episode. You are not going to want to miss it. One of my very favorite professors from college. I didn't realize that this episode was going to kind of touch me the way that it did. I knew who he was from kind of a professional standpoint, knew a little bit about him personally, but you're going to want to stay tuned because this opened up my eyes and my heart to who he really is as a person, as a husband, as a father, as a lover of God, and a lover of teaching people because he has been at Mercyhurst now University, but at my time when I was there, college, for 41 years. And he's still going strong, Mr. Brad Jacobson. You're going to stay tuned because it's going to be a great episode, and you're going to learn a lot. You may cry a little, but it's all in good fun. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Lawless country people are real close family. Lately some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. They wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hey Sawbones, my story, my passion. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Molly, orthopedic surgeon, cutter of bones, entrepreneur, business owner, but most importantly, loving husband and father of 3 young and very busy and very active boys. And tonight, I am very, very excited. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while. This is one of my closest and dearest college professors. I had him for more classes than any other professor when I was at Mercyhurst. He, at the time, was the program director for the athletic training and sports medicine curriculum. Without further ado, Mr. Bradley Jacobson.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that
How are you?
beautiful intro. Good. I'm doing great, and I want to thank you for asking me to be part of this and bringing you into your beautiful home. It's an honor.
Well, it's overdue. I started this I had a list when I first started this back in June of last year, and Karen was like, "Who do you want to have on there?" And your name was on there. Sue's name was on there. Marianne's, she hasn't been on yet, but kind of just different phases of my life and people that were really influential to me personally and professionally. And this has honestly been one of the most fun projects I've done because I'm so kind of work focused, but this is like fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to sit down with people like yourself very often and just like one-on-one. So, and I think it's really cool too, because a lot of people are going to be able to watch this and learn more about you. I mean, they may know your name and they may know your face, and maybe they had you for a class, but maybe they'll get a little bit deeper insight. So, we talked a little bit before we started recording, kind of just the basic format here, but I always start out 30,000 foot view. Who is Brad Jacobson?
Wow, that's a loaded question. From Jamestown, New York, graduated in 1978. And
it's the year I was born.
Well, I know. Hey, I'm showing my age. Loved sports. Played 3 sports in high school. Played college football at Alfred University. Met my beautiful, wonderful wife there, who I've been married to for 40 years. This is our 41st wedding anniversary coming up in July 30th.
Happy early anniversary.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm the youngest of 5 children. Great parents, just wonderful, loving parents who taught us work ethic and just resiliency and how to get through tough times. My dad worked at Sears and Roebuck for 37 years, so I had a great role model as far as the attitude about going into work every day and knowing, it may not be your best day, but you're going to make the most of it and you're going to keep going. You just keep going and provide for your family. I think, when the 30,000 foot view, that has always stuck with me, providing for my family. The president at Mercyhurst who hired me was Dr. William Garvey. And I saw him many, many years later after he had retired. And I went in a restaurant and just went over to say hi to him. And he said to me, he goes, Brad, I got to tell you something after all these years. He said, your interview, I remembered something that you said, and it's always been with me. I asked you, why should we hire you at Mercyhurst? What makes you different? And I said, well, the thing that maybe makes me, I don't know if it's different, is my work ethic, that I want to provide for my family. My dad taught me I'm the breadwinner. That is my role. And he said that was the deciding factor that he hired me. That one statement, other than everything else that was said or done during that interview process. I love life. I love God. I love my friends. I try to make the most of each day. Finding out as we age, many friends are starting to pass away now, surprisingly. And it really makes you take a step back and reflect at how precious life is, and to make the most of each day, and to really look at the things that we think are important, but maybe aren't so important, and to really prioritize what really matters. And so I'm kind of at that stage in life right now where I'm trying not to let things bother me. I'm just trying to enjoy life. We are grandparents. Our son Zach and his wife Ashley had a baby girl, Adeline Dawn Jacobson, on February 12th. So we are just immensely enjoying that whole process, because we watch Addie 2 to 3 times a week now, and it's just spectacular. It's really something. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I remember Zach. I know when I saw you over at Mercyhurst a couple months back, we were talking about him, and I remember with him, going to picnics and stuff like that. And he was young.
He was
very young. It's hard to believe that
31 now.
he is 31 and a father, which is awesome. It's that circle of life, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, and he's in the medical field. He's a PA.
Yeah. Where's he at?
Family practice here in Erie.
Okay.
Both on the over on Pine Avenue and over on Sterretania. There's a group of UPMC docs that he works for,
Nice.
and he loves that. He's very internal medical oriented. He loves the decision making as far as taking in all the differential diagnosis and coming up with what's wrong, and then developing a plan. Yeah, that's his strength.
Yeah.
Even though he was in our sports medicine orthopedic, major at Mercyhurst, he decided to go a different path, and that's great. I mean, I love it when, everyone finds their own niche, and I know you, in your story, you were thinking you were going to do general orthopedics with ACL and rotator cuff repairs, and here you are, and
even before that, I thought I was going to go to chiropractic school.
Yeah.
So it's just like there's a lot of life twists and turns and curveballs, and to me, all the better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always a straight path, and
Never
not
is.
a clear path, but that's the beauty of life. It's the uncertainties.
Yep. That always happens. If you don't mind me going into, you talked about the 30,000 foot view.
Please.
I look at how God has had a plan in my life, even though maybe sometimes I didn't want to hear it or see it. I didn't even know where Alfred University was. That's where I did my undergraduate, work. And I was going to go to Colgate. They were recruiting me to play football. They're like, Brad, you're coming to Colgate. You're going to be in our defense somewhere. And that's it. I'm going to Colgate. Well, my SAT scores weren't good enough.
Is that Ivy League or just under?
Just a little bit below.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was devastated when I got the call. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I got the call, and believe it or not, the guy's name, who's a defensive coordinator, and their recruiting coach, his name was Jack Daniels.
Oh,
and he talked with this rough, gruff, rah, rah, rah voice. I can still hear him on the phone. I pick up the phone. He's like, Brad, I got some bad news for you. You're not accepted at Colgate. And I did. I started crying. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I had some other schools, UB. I could have went to UB and played. It's too big a campus. And I'm in history class at JHS High School. There's a knock on the door. Athletic director says, Brad, there's a guy here who wants to see you from Alfred University. I'm like, Alfred University? Where's that? It was the head coach, Sam Sanders. And it's like it's all a mistake. And he talks to me, goes, I was watching a film of a guy we're looking at Sweet Home High School in Buffalo, and they happened to be playing Jamestown, and I noticed you. So he wasn't even watching me. I wasn't even on his radar.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said, I saw you on the film, and I was really impressed, and I thought I'd come down and see if you'd be interested in taking a visit.
What position did you play in high school?
I was quarterback and linebacker. It's kind of a weird
combo.
Yeah, but so I took the trip to Alfred.
Did he want you as a quarterback or a linebacker?
As a linebacker, yeah. And I don't know if you've ever been to Alfred, Ryan. It's in the middle of
I don't even know where it is.
Nowhere. I'm talking, you blink your eye and you've gone by.
Is it like Townville?
Yes.
Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, I mean, there's one light. Alfred University's on one side of the hill. It's like in a little valley, and Alfred State College is on the other side. It's literally a university college city. And Alfred University's been there since...
So there's two universities?
There is.
Wow. Still?
Yeah. And Alfred's been there, I could have this wrong, I think it was 1837. It's been there a long time. But, I decided to go there. I'm really getting personal here. And again, not what I planned. I'm dating this girl all through high school. And she, even at Christmas, freshman year, has me out looking at engagement rings. Yeah. So you can kind of see where that's going.
Yeah.
And then in February, we didn't have cell phones or anything back then. We had a pay phone in the lounge. All of a sudden, there's a phone call. I knock on my door. Hey, Brad, your girlfriend wants to talk to you. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? I want to break up.
Did you already buy the ring?
No, thank God. But I want to break up. I need space. I need time, that whole bit. Well, thank God, because then I meet Kate, my wife.
How long after that?
As far as dating Kate?
Did you meet her?
We had met, and again, I'm letting it all out here. I had met Kate in August. We had right at the end of football camp, beginning of classes. I was in the cafeteria, and the basketball coach at Alfred used to coach at Southwestern High School where Kate went. And so they knew each other.
Gotcha.
And so I'm in the cafeteria, and is it okay if I say a guy's name on here?
Yeah,
permission?
absolutely.
Okay. Ron Fredris, he was the basketball coach at Alfred. And I knew him. He graduated with my sister, and he's walking with this beautiful girl. And they're like, hey, Ron, how you doing? And I see this beautiful, gorgeous girl standing next to him. Oh, this is Kate Wagner. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm smitten already, just like, it was like love at first sight, but I'm dating this other girl. But we had met, and I was like, oh my gosh, just smitten with Kate. And Ron even goes, easy, big fella. She's got a boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, I got a girlfriend too. But, so I get dumped in February. As things go on, Kate and her boyfriend break up in March, and we get together, and we've been together ever since. And so we dated all through Alfred, went down to graduate school. Kate worked at Duke Medical Center while I was going to graduate school at Chapel Hill. And then we got married in July of 1983. And it's been great. But again, that whole thing wasn't really supposed to happen.
Yeah, you were supposed to be at Colgate.
I know.
Right?
And then I wasn't even supposed to be at UNC. I had offers to go to Western Michigan, Indiana State University for master's degree in athletic training. And my mentor at Alfred, Gene Castrovillo. Gene, I know you're not going to see this, but I love you, and you're one of the main reasons of who I am today and where I'm at. So thank you very much. He wrote a letter for me, a reference letter, and as I'm interviewing at UNC, Bill Prentice, who's a big name in athletic training and sports medicine, he's the program director there. And again, he looks at me point blank, honest as all heck. He says, Brad, I don't even know why we're interviewing you, but we decided to interview you because of what Gene Castrovillo said about you. And he said, if you're as good as what Gene has said, then we're ready to offer you a position in our graduate program. Because he told me, he said, quote, you're nothing special when it comes to your academics and everything.
It sounds like my residency director who I interviewed two weeks ago on this podcast.
Yeah.
But like a father figure to me.
Yep. And I hate to carry this on, but so I'm in the grad, and my dad's like, why are you going to UNC? You're paying double the tuition, because you're paying out-of-state tuition. You got stipends and scholarships to go to these other schools. I said, Dad, I'm just supposed to be there. I know. I just got a feeling God has a plan for me. I'm supposed to be there. He says, okay, you remember, you're going to have to pay all those loans back. I'm like, I get it. So I'm there, and you maybe remember this name of stories that I told during class, Skip Hunter. He was one of my mentors at UNC, ATC PT. He comes up to me and he says, you're from Jamestown, New York, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, there's a job at I think it's Mercyhurst College in Erie. Is that close to Jamestown? I said, yeah, Erie's about 45 miles. And it's a job posted in a physical therapy journal, not on, and again, this is before all the technology. The NATA used
There was no internet at that point.
No,
right?
none.
I mean,
they used to have to dial on the phone and hear all the vacancies and write them down.
wow.
This vacancy was never posted on the NATA. I never would have heard of the opportunity at Mercyhurst College at the time if I hadn't have been at UNC. Skip Hunter told me about it and said, Brad, I want to give you an opportunity to apply for this before I let the other, students in the program know about it. I said, I really appreciate that, Skip. And so I apply, and I'm starting to think back. I'm like, Mercyhurst, who do I? And then it finally dawned on me, my principal, and again, how things connect in life. The principal at my high school, James McElrath, and again, thank you, Mr. McElrath, his son played basketball at Mercyhurst. It just clicked in my head, and I'm like, okay. So I contacted Mr. McElrath. I said, would you write me a recommendation letter? Again, I'm applying to Mercyhurst College at the time for an athletic training position, an athletic training program director position. He said, sure. And so during the interview that I mentioned before with Dr. Garvey, he held up the letter from James McElrath. And again, it sounded like a broken record. He said, if you're as good as what James McElrath says, we're going to take a chance on you. So again, when I look at this and I look at how influential and impactful other people are in our lives, because I wouldn't be at Mercyhurst if it wasn't for Gene Castrovillo and if it wasn't for James McElrath. It's not all about me. It's not all about, my skills, my knowledge, my hard work ethic. It's about other people willing to go to bat for you and to make that difference. And without those two men, I wouldn't have been at Mercyhurst.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been at Mercyhurst if I hadn't have been at UNC.
Yeah.
And again, that wasn't my plan. It was God's plan. I just needed to listen and I needed to, I guess, follow his direction,
Absolutely beautiful. Very similar stories of how I got to where I was able to get through connections of people that were willing to go to bat for me.
Yeah.
And, you develop relationships with people. They see the type of person you are. They see the type of work ethic that you have. Grades are one thing, but all those other things, your character, right? And how you treat other people and how dedicated you were and how dedicated I was to what I really wanted to accomplish.
And I know you were because I saw it firsthand.
And it was, same people, Greg Coppola, Doug Dietzel, Doug Dietzel's an orthopedic surgeon at Michigan State that gave me a chance to rotate there and put me up in his in-laws' apartment. It was totally empty, not one piece of furniture.
What'd you sleep on?
I went and bought a blow-up air mattress. He gave me a couple cardboard boxes. He had a lawn chair that I folded out. So I had cardboard boxes were my end tables. I had my alarm clock on that. I had my my blow up mattress. The chair was what I would eat dinner in, and just great memories. So it was so simple, but so beautiful, right? I would just go. I'd go to the track. I was training for a half marathon at that point, but yeah, just kind of miss those simple days,
Yep.
right? Not that I don't love my life and everything that my wife and I have built here, but it was nice when it was just me and I didn't have to worry about all the
Less
other
complicated.
things. Yeah. So as we kind of talked about kind of the format here, I'm going to have you start by doing 3 business questions for
Okay.
me, and then do 3 personal questions.
Okay.
Then we'll reverse the table here. I'll do the same for you. I tell all my guests, you can veto 1 question, but out of 30 some episodes, not one person has vetoed one yet. So
Wow. Okay.
so tough shoes to fill there, Brad.
Okay.
So fire away.
Fire away. Okay. And I'm going to, just so you know, the information you're going to pass on here, I'm going to pass on to my students, because one of the classes I teach is a sport health fitness management class, which we go into organizational leadership, management type things.
Yeah.
Business, the business aspect. And obviously you have built an extremely successful, well-known business. When I look at what we talk about in this class, we talk about communication. And I always say communication is key. And this is a question that I'm going to ask you. In your success related to your business, what role has communication played, and how has that been implemented to help that success occur?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that question yet, and I like it a lot. I have to give credit where credit is due, and that's my wife.
Okay.
So my wife and you, I think, probably would, and I've kind of come onto this, I've joined that train, so to speak. She is all about communication and has taught me the importance of communication for a lot of my life, a lot of my kind of professional, I would say my early professional life and my training. I kind of had this lone wolf mentality where I felt, and part of it, and I'm not trying to blame, it's just the process, but like orthopedic surgery residency is very much like the military. And although you have a band of brothers, your co-residents, which super close with, my program director used to tell me, he's like, trust nobody, trust nobody. And again, Dr. Nigerian, his episode will air 2 before yours. Awesome man, awesome mentor, operated until he was in his mid 70s, was
Wow.
a program director for, I think he said 25 years, but an orthopedic surgeon for 45 years, and gave so much of himself to his teaching of residents, where he could have been building a much busier practice or doing, making more money at a different place, but he was so focused on on education. But back to your question, communication. I had to get out of my own head and get away from kind of that isolationist and that lone wolf mentality. And, when you're building a team, you can't do it alone, right? And when you go through your learning curves and your growing pains, so to speak,
Oh, yeah.
all right, this practice, what was good about this practice, what wasn't. And it always came down to communication wasn't great, right? Whether the fit was, it was never my fault or anybody else's fault. It was a mutual, just not a good fit, right? My practice in Michigan was a great fit. It just wasn't the right opportunity at the time. The guys were great. We're still very good friends. When I came to Pennsylvania, that was the breakdown of the practice. It was communication. We weren't speaking each other's languages. We weren't speaking enough. We weren't speaking frequently enough. And they were going this direction. I was trying to go this direction. We weren't rowing in the same direction. And maybe we could have started rowing in the same direction if we would have spoken, but maybe not. I don't know. So when I started Whole Health, I knew that I needed to do it differently because I wanted to make sure that it was sustainable and that everybody was rowing in the same direction. So I had to create a culture that was very much in line. It had to be absolutely in line with what my goals were, what my ethics were, what my morals were, and what I wanted my patients to kind of experience at Whole Health. And in order to do that, I had to communicate what my vision was, what my mission statement was, what my goals were, who I was, what my ethical standpoints and viewpoints were. And so we had to create a leadership team. And this has just even evolved over the past several years. Karen used to ask me, who do you talk to? I said, what do you mean, who do I talk to? She's like, Ryan, you have a very stressful job. You have all these expectations from patients. You have all these employees. Who do you talk to about like your issues and problems? I'm like, what do you mean? Talk to myself. Talk to God. And she's like, no, you need to talk to somebody. I'm like, no, that's weakness. That's weak. And up until it was 3.5 years ago, I finally kind of broke down and said, I think you're right, Karen. Like, it was just getting a little too overwhelming to try to do this all on my own. And even we didn't have a leadership team at that point. And so she had been kind of coaxing me to speak with like this lady. Her name's Allison Park-Plasha. She's been my life coach for the past 3.5 years. She's been awesome. Tomorrow I have an hour with her. I'm looking forward to it. I talk to her at least once a week. At the very longest we'll go is 2 weeks. And I brought her on a year after I talked to her just individually to help create a leadership team and a leadership culture at Whole Health. And again, I have to give mad props to Allison for the work that she's done, not only with myself and Karen's worked with her. I've made multiple referrals to other people that work with her now individually, but she's done an amazing job with Whole Health to kind of create with kind of my guidance of what my vision was, but she helped me do it because I couldn't do it on my own. My brain wasn't wired for that. But she's helped to kind of rewire a bit to understand how important good, healthy, open, honest, authentic communication is. Because if you aren't saying it, people are not mind readers, right? And you may think that they understand based upon your actions or just who you are, but if you don't say it, she always says this, like, you can make up your own story, right? And you can stay in your own head and you can start to think that someone's thinking something or doing something for a certain reason, but you don't know unless you actually talk to them. So it's not easy. There's a lot of difficult conversations I have to have that I don't look forward to, but I can say that I can sleep easier at night, and I just know that I've given it the right effort, and it's the right way to do it.
Okay. Next question. With all of the AI that's going on right now, automated intelligence, and again, I showed a video to my class, my orthopedic class, and just this past spring semester saying they're after your job. Is that present in orthopedic surgery with your hip and knee replacement profession?
It is. I mean, obviously, there's robotic surgery and things like that.
Right.
But there's always a surgeon behind the robot. I don't do any robotic surgery myself. But the way that AI, artificial intelligence, has kind of cracked into our industry is it is creating, it's more of a documentation thing than anything else. Like, it will create notes for us. It's smart, right? So it starts to learn how I talk or how Dr. Frendak talks or how Dr. Sion talks. And it will compile all of that. So it continues to just get smarter and smarter. And it will start to formulate sentences in an exam, very much like if I were to type out what my exam would look like or sound like. The other thing that it is doing is it's evaluating x-rays, which is like crazy scary to me.
Wow.
Where it will look at an x-ray and what they did was, and I'm going to paraphrase some of this because I don't remember exactly how they did the study. But they say took 100 knees that ended up getting some type of replacement. And they looked at the pre-op x-rays, and then they looked at the end result, and they looked at those 100 cases or 200 or whatever the number was. And they looked at subtle differences that our eyes generally can't pick up on. Sometimes you just have like a gut feeling. Like, I can look at something and can't quite explain it and be like, I could see why you think that may be a partial knee candidate, but I think it's going to be a total. And it's maybe just my brain understands it, but I can't quite comprehend or explain it. But this was able to almost like to a 99th degree predict what was going to happen. the surgical decision that was going to
So
be made.
you currently use this in your practice?
I don't, but it's out there. We were asked to kind of be the beta testers
Mm-hmm.
for a practice. I didn't submit my data to it because I was a little scared about it, but it's coming. I mean, there's no way around it. I'm not adverse to technology or anything like that. I don't think it's ever going to replace a surgeon in the operating room, at least in my lifetime. Maybe in my children's lifetimes or their children's lifetimes. But and I do think that there's a lot of advantages to it, right? There's a lot of very cool things that can allow us to be much more accurate. Things that we may, as surgeons, think that we can feel and perceive, like ligamentous balancing during a total knee. And to me, that's a little bit of the art of the operation, like feeling, okay, this feels balanced, or no, it's a little tight medially, a little loose laterally. I'm going to shave a little bit more medially to loosen that up. Where there's sensors and things like that that can give us actual objective measurements of joint load pressures, which again is very cool, very cool.
Wow.
But I'm kind of like an old soul as a surgeon. I don't know what it is. I'm not adverse to changing things because I'm constantly changing things. I just like doing things a little bit more old schoolish. Like surgical technique, I change quite frequently. To like recently, 8 months ago now, started doing all my knees without having to cut the muscle, which is a big jump. It was a learning curve, but it's now such a beautiful operation. Whereas I could do that with hips for over a decade. Never knew how to do it with a knee. And I finally figured it out how to do it with a knee. But I'm not using robots or anything like that. It's just anatomy, right? And figuring out what to release and what not to release.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's some pretty cool information. That
Yeah.
as far as the direction or the vision of orthopedic surgery, that is at our doorstep.
For sure.
Yeah. Third question. Now, this is a big picture looking, again, the 30,000.
Yeah.
When you look at healthcare today and you look at the cost of healthcare, and obviously you have to as a businessman, because you're getting paid by the system, in essence, the insurance, the third-party reimbursement system. Trying not to put you on the spot, but what would you change in our third-party reimbursement system that is currently in place in the United States I'll say to make it more efficient, both for the healthcare provider, and I know this is a tough challenge, and also the patient?
Yeah. So I would change almost everything. Okay. And this is like something that's very, very near and dear to my heart. Something that if I wasn't a private practice owner, I probably wouldn't be as passionate about. But my other podcast, Red Carpet Healthcare Solutions, we talk about this every episode. And we just released our 9th or 10th episode of that. So, and I have guests from different surgeons. I've had healthcare attorneys. So it's the current dilemma in the healthcare system today, from my perspective, and this is the surgeon perspective and the patient perspective, is that, and I hate to make it like good, bad, but like to me, the insurance companies are essentially the evil empire. The premiums that they charge patients go up every year. The coverage and the networks that they provide get smaller every year. The deductibles go up every year. And again, what you're going to get for what you're paying, or what your employer, or what I pay for my employees, my rates have gone up 24, 25% the past several years. It's unsustainable. And the other side of the equation, and this is what a lot of patients don't understand, is that our reimbursement. So when, say, a surgeon, there's two payments that go out. Say I do a knee replacement or a hip replacement. There's what's called a professional fee, and there's what's called a facility fee. Professional fee is what goes to the physician, but more, not really, they don't write a check to Ryan Motley. They write a check to the practice, to Whole Health. That check for that professional fee for the knee replacement has to cover all of the overhead. So I have 35 employees. I have to pay all their salaries. I have to pay their healthcare benefits. I do 401k planning. I match all of that. Wow. I do profit sharing. I take care of my employees because they take care of me. The problem is that the reimbursements for the professional fees have gone down every single year for the past 20 years. And I'm not saying a little.
Is this pretty much all insurance companies?
Oh, yeah. So Medicare,
And I
CMS,
was- okay.
starts it.
Right.
And then all the other private payers, your UPMCs, your Highmarks, your Aetnas, your Cignas, they follow suit. So simple numbers, but pretty darn accurate. 20 years ago, whole health would have gotten paid about $8,000 a professional fee for a knee replacement. Doesn't come to me, has to pay for everything. And all of our costs have gone up. It's inflation, right? The cost of medical supplies, all of my employees' salaries, even since COVID, they have skyrocketed because, a medical assistant who was making $12, $13 an hour then now has to make $15, $16 an hour, or they're going to McDonald's because they can make $18 an hour there. So as a business owner, we continue to spend more and more and more. Medical supplies went through the roof with COVID. All of our rent, our mortgages, our x-rays, EMR systems, you have to constantly update that. And we were mandated by the insurance companies to get EMR. You can't have paper charts anymore, or else you get penalized for that. So now, instead of $8,000 today, instead of going up like with inflation, it's gone down, and we get paid $1,100 to do the same operation that we did 20 years ago, but we do it way better and way more cost effective, but we get paid less, 85% less, and all of my costs have gone up. It is a recipe for, it's unsustainable, absolutely unsustainable. We're heading, and I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, we're heading towards socialized medicine. And I truly believe that that is what the government and this country, not trying to get too political here, but I think that's kind of like what they want to happen. I think they want the bubble to burst.
I agree. Yeah, and again, it's hard to talk about it without getting political.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get political with this.
These
but
are just the true numbers, though,
Yeah.
right? They are what they are. I don't care who you vote for. This is a free country, right?
Yeah.
But I will just say that there's been a lot of bad things that have happened in the healthcare system and society, and people that think socialized medicine is good, just go across the border to Canada, see how they like it. When they're waiting 18 to 24 months to get a hip or knee replacement because they're told they're too old, they're this, they're that, and there's only so much that they'll do per year. Yeah. So the solution is not easy. And quite frankly, I don't know what the correct solution is, but I can tell you what's happening. One of my first guests on Red Carpet was a physician, orthopedic surgeon. He's in Colorado Springs, and he went pure cash pay. And he sets reasonable prices, very much like what he charges the insurance company. Not what he get paid by the insurance. You could charge $1 million for something, but they're only going to pay you what they're going to pay you.
Right.
I don't know any other profession where you can, like a service like healthcare, where if you want to charge $15 for a hamburger, you can. Doesn't mean people are going to pay it, but you can charge that. We have no control over what we get paid, and the amount of time and effort, and God forbid, like the schooling. I mean, 28 years of school to do what I do. This doesn't like feel bad for me. That's not the point of it, but it's like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, I talk with my students about this, and I'm not trying to put down this generation, but they know very little about it at all. And then when they start to realize what's going on, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and you're getting into this, and the insurance companies are controlling, in essence, what they're going to pay you for what you do.
Yeah.
So be ready for it. And I wish there was a solution. I was hoping maybe.
Well, my buddy, so I kind of had a
that,
hybrid. I created a concierge branch to my practice that has really been a blessing, and for both patients and myself, because it allows it to be sustainable, and it allows me to offer, because my waiting time keeps getting longer and longer, and more personalized medicine. Greg Beato, he's a concierge internal medicine doctor down in Virginia, Blacksburg, Virginia, with MDVIP. I do think you're going to start seeing more of that, where people are going to start paying more out of pocket because their insurances aren't covering this anymore. And they want to get really good care. They want to have kind of that old fashioned feel. So Greg went from a practice of, I think it was close to 3,000 patients
Wow.
to 400. He only has 400 patients now, but he spends a ton of time with each of those
Sure.
patients, and they pay an annual membership fee to be one of his patients. And he does executive physicals that last 60 to 90 minutes. And they get, next day appointments if they need it.
So he's not part of any insurance network.
Well, so he's a little bit of a hybrid. He's
Okay.
not cash pay. MDVAP is kind of a hybrid where they still take insurances,
Okay.
but they also have a membership where they limit the amount of patients so that the patients can get more face time with the physician, and a more deeper, more meaningful relationship. Like my concierge patients, I give them my cell phone, I give them my email address. They can contact me anytime they want, even if I'm on vacation.
Wow.
You can't do that for everybody, but it's direct access, and people are wanting that. So
Yep.
I do think that is, I don't know if it's the answer for all because not everybody can afford that.
Right.
But it's a step, at least in the right direction, to keep the boat above water at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, I hope the boat stays above water, because I think when economically, when our healthcare system fails, we're in trouble.
Big time.
Yeah, we are in big, big trouble. So that's my 3 professional questions.
On to the fun stuff now, the personal stuff.
Here we go. All right. So when you look back at your life, Ryan, if there's one thing that you could change, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I'd be taller and faster.
And playing in the NBA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No. Obviously, I can't change those things.
Right.
Right. Man, you hate to say that you live life without regrets, because there's obviously things that I would do differently. But what is the one thing that I would do differently? It's probably just and it's the current. It's just spending more time with the people that mean the most to me, right? With my wife, with my boys, with my parents that are getting older, my sisters, their husbands, and it's a very tricky balance. I give myself a B+ on it. I'm giving myself a little bit of grace, but I'm usually my harshest critic. I'm not giving myself an A, but I think I do pretty decent at it. I need to get down to see my parents a little bit more. I need to spend a little bit more time with my sisters. But it's also difficult when you have a family and 3 young kids that are so involved in activities here, right? So like my nuclear family takes up the vast majority of my time, and I would not give that up for the world, right? And I spend a lot of time with them, and I love that. But it's just like, I think in my friends, if I could just create like a little bit more time, and figure out a way to do that and accomplish that while still being able to accomplish everything because it's that balance, right? Like the professional stuff is what allows me to provide for my family.
Yeah.
We like to travel and things like that. And it would just be spending more time, more quality time with loved ones.
Okay. If God was sitting in this chair instead of me right now,
Oh boy.
and you had one question to ask God, what would it be?
Wow. You're going deep. I've had a priest on this. I've had, I would be tempted to ask about like my future, but I don't really want to know about that because I think that's part of the beauty of life is like the surprises of it and just how the decisions that I make, both good and bad, lead to different outcomes and consequences. I would just ask him like, why were you so willing to allow your only son to die in the manner that he died for us. And I understand why, but like, how can you do that? Because if you ask me to sacrifice one of my 3 boys in any way,
Amen.
I'm sorry. I can't do that, but I guess that's because I'm not God or Jesus. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, because I'm selfish and I don't want anything to harm them, but like just the amazing unconditional love. Just where does that come from? I guess it would be my question. Where does that come from?
Great question. Great question. If you could go back in time, what era would that be, and what role would you want to be within that era?
I really like history, and I really like ancient Roman history. I'm just drawn to that era of the Caesars and just the amazing architectural feats that they accomplished with very primitive but very accurate tools, right? Like we're talking about robotics and these sensors and this and that. But these, whether you want to say the Egyptians, whether you want to say the Romans, what they were able to accomplish with the amount of precision that they had,
It's amazing.
absolutely amazing to me. Whether it's the aqueducts, whether it's the Colosseum, the Pantheon, just some of these amazing feats. And you look at like how long it took them to build these things too. Like everybody wants things today, and they're the old adage like Rome wasn't built in a day. I would probably choose ancient Rome, and I would want to be not. I wouldn't want to be a Caesar. I wouldn't want to be one of the higher ups. I wouldn't even want to be a politician. I would want to be respected, but I would like to be like a Michelangelo or somebody that was designing, building, creating things, because that's like my artistic side. And I love that about surgery is I get to use my artistic brain on a daily basis. And I love designing like this room. I loved designing this room. So that would be where I would like to go.
Very cool. I think my questions are up.
It's time to turn the tables. So
Maybe I should keep firing questions.
no, this is going to be good, especially since you gave me quite a bit of background that I didn't know. I mean, I know you went to Alfred. I knew you spent some time at Chapel Hill. I didn't know how you got from here to there. I didn't know the Colgate thing. Professionally, is there one person? I know you mentioned your dad and the fact that he was with Sears and Roebuck for 37 years. Is there one person, or can you give me maybe 3 people, if it's hard to give me one, that really helped to shape who the man is that's sitting in this chair here today? And I don't mean just professionally. I know it's a professional question, but professionally, personally, spiritually.
Yeah. Well, other than my dad, because my dad was just amazing. He came from the World War II era. You know, he was over in Japan the Philippines. But other than my dad, again, I'm going to say Gene Castrovillo. He was my mentor.
Where was he at?
He was at Alfred.
Okay.
He was at the time, he was the athletic training curriculum director, but he was also the athletic director, which you talk about kind of a unusual combination of duties and responsibilities, but he held both hats.
Yeah.
And so that kind of allowed me to take a step back and go, wow, look at this guy's management skills, you know, and his communication skills and his personal skills of how he deals with people. And he was one that was always willing to listen and to have an open mind about situations. It wasn't just always cut and dry, even though there was, there's always rules and regulations with things, but there's situations that you have to step back from those rules and regulations and make a decision that maybe isn't within those boundaries, but is most importantly for the best of that person.
Yeah.
And Gene was able to do those things. And so I had a great role model from that perspective. Also, he worked the Olympics as an athletic trainer on, if I remember, 2 different stints. So that was always, again, being an 18, 19-year-old, college student, it's like, wow, this guy's
being a
worked the
45-year-old.
Olympics. So And just a wonderful guy too. Just a really wonderful guy. Wow. You know, there's coaches in all the sports that I've played. A couple coaches. Mr. Pete Holford. He was my basketball and track coach in junior high, and he taught me sportsmanship. That it wasn't always about winning. It wasn't always about being first. It wasn't always about being the top dog. It was about the process of how you treat people. And even though you may want to get from A to Z, it's the process of what is the right way to get there.
Right.
Another one was Coach Wally Hucknall. He coached me in football in junior high and also in high school. And I coached, if you ever hear this, take this the right way. He taught me how to be tough, to be resilient, to be, able to withstand things coming at you and still realize you have the ability to get through this. You have that ability. In today's world, I would think Coach Hucknall may be looked at as kind of a Bobby Knight type.
Harsh.
Yeah, but he was the guy that 1 minute he's in your face and the next minute he's got his arms around you, telling you what a great job you did and how proud he is of you. And again, those two coaches left huge impressions on me. Another individual, again, I'll call him a coach. He was a physical education teacher in my elementary school, Mr. Fred Natarelli. Same thing. He was a great communicator. He found the good in people. It wasn't always about winning the award. It was about, again, how you were as a person, how you carried yourself, your work ethic, how you treated other people. And those men left huge impressions on me.
The fact that you know their names and quickly, you didn't have to think about it.
Oh no. And again, I hate to continue to go back into my teaching. I tell in that same class, that Sport Health Fitness, I said, I want you to write a letter. Find that person who has left their mark on you in a positive way and write a letter, not an email, not a text. Write them a letter and demonstrate to them how important that they were in your life. And again, it's those connecting of dots, that life circle. It just continues to amaze me over the years and it's like, oh, that's just coincidence. I don't believe it's coincidence.
Yeah,
I think God has a plan, and I think God puts certain people in each of our lives to help us get to the point where He wants us to be.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion on that.
I'm with you on that, Brad. And I mean, again, I had those same people that I think about, the Greg Coppolas, the Doug Dietzels, the Chris Nigerians, the Brad Jacobsons, that gave me a chance, gave me an opportunity to get to where I was at that point, even if I wasn't the strongest candidate, and believed in me and helped to nurture me to get better and be resilient and have that grit and persistence and discipline. You're a lot more philosophical than I remember, but that was 20 years ago too.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And it was different at that point too. Like I was there for academics.
Sure.
And I do remember you sharing life stories with us and life lessons with us, but this is a lot deeper. I'm really enjoying our time together
Good.
tonight.
I am too.
This is a lot deeper look into who you are than I ever would have imagined. So that's a big compliment.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mercyhurst,
Yes.
how many decades?
I just completed my 41st year.
Wow. Okay. So 41 years at Mercyhurst, you've seen a lot of changes.
I have.
From administration to just the physical look of Mercyhurst. It was Mercyhurst College, now it's Mercyhurst University. It was D2, now it's D1, the most recent development. But what would you say are some of your fondest? I'm going to ask two questions here, but it's only going to count for one.
Okay.
One of your favorite Mercyhurst memories, and one of your more painful, and you don't have to give names of people or anything like that, but maybe just a situation.
Okay.
And just the painful one, any lessons you learned from that?
Okay. Wow, there's been a lot that has happened to me over the 41 years at Mercyhurst. So you're saying the fondest memory that I've
Yeah,
had
I
at
mean,
Mercyhurst?
and the maybe the impact that you helped bring to
Yeah.
Mercyhurst.
And again, it's not one thing. It's the honor and privilege that I've had to have the exposure to all of the students over the years. We just went through, and I apologize if I get emotional.
It's okay.
Because each student is so unique, and each student is their own person, and they have their own journey and career. But to hope and pray that I've been a part, even if it's a small, tiny part, to help them get to where they're going, because they've given me a part of who they are too, And so I feel that we're connected, whether they realize it or not. That I have a connection with thousands of students that it just brings such joy, to think, wow, this is
That's a lot of human beings that you touched over 41 years.
yeah,
Right.
But again, I think God puts us in places to do a job, and I felt God has put me in this place at Mercyhurst to do that, and and again, I look at pictures of students in my office, and I think back, and it's funny because I'm not a big Facebooker, but I'm on Facebook, and I see these posts of students that all of a sudden they're married and have 3 kids and are successful. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I remember when this person was struggling through this class, or they had a personal situation, and maybe they were thinking of even changing professions or career paths. And here they are, 15, 20, 30 years later with their whole life behind them and still in front of them. But to look at what they have made of themselves is just so enjoyable. It really is. It's so cool. So that, when I take a step back, that is definitely the most important thing that I've experienced. I hope to continue to experience at Mercyhurst. The most painful, wow.
I know that's an awkward question.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have to name names or situation. It just broadly explain it and what you
I'll
learned
say
from
this.
it.
Because again, I've seen many administrations, many presidents, many deans, and the majority of all of those people, the majority of them, are wonderful people that truly have prioritized Mercyhurst and the students as their mission. But then there's other individuals that seemed to have their mission of themselves and throwing around their power and throwing around the demeaning sometimes. And this is in every profession. So I don't care whether you're at Mercyhurst or anywhere. I don't care. This is everywhere. But it's just hard to swallow sometimes when you see the approach. And I'm not perfect. I know I've done things wrong over the past, how I've dealt with people or what I've said to people. Some of the things I think back of what I said early in my career to some people I'm ashamed of, literally ashamed of, because I didn't know any better. But we learn. We learn by our mistakes. But though some of the things that I heard out of people's ears, then they were almost personal attacks. That's the thing that's just like okay, you could have said that, but you could have come about it, said it in a different manner that wasn't so just putting your heel on me and putting me under the ground. It's just like, so, I mean, and again, that happens to everybody. I'm not trying to say, oh, woe is Brad. It happens to everybody. It's somewhere along their journey. But I get, and again, that's when I look at the big picture, that's a minimal thing, I guess. But I'll say this: hurtful. And I don't want to say hurtful. It's a bittersweet. Is that when you see the students leave, that it's like, this may be the last time I see these people, and that's hard. It's hard, especially when you have them in 8 classes, and you really get to know each other, But you're like, oh, it's like a parent, it's like you're so happy for your child to do their own thing and be on their own journey and look at their own vision and mission and accomplish that. But on the other hand, you're dying inside because it's like, man, my little boy is gone. My little girl's gone,
That would be very tough. I come from a family of teachers. No one's in medicine. And honestly, I would probably get caught up or hung up on that quite frequently because you put so much time and effort and love into what you do and helping to teach and expose and even learn from the students. And then to potentially never see a lot of them again. I don't know what percentage it is, but I would say it's probably pretty high.
Yep, it is.
80%?
Probably at least. Yeah,
Right.
at least.
So, I
And
mean,
that's
that
when
makes
Facebook comes in. I'm like, oh,
Facebook,
here
but
they are.
the ones that you do get to see makes it hopefully even sweeter.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you run into someone at Venango Valley Inn or just randomly, right?
Yeah.
And you get to see somebody that you made an impact on their life and they come up to you. I'm sure that happens quite frequently for you.
I mean, it does. As especially growing up, our kids, they're like, Dad, we can't go anywhere without someone knowing you, or just, bumping into, and it's just, but that's just part of the profession, and it's, but I've been blessed, I thank you, Lord, I've been blessed with all this, and it's been a great ride.
Last professional question.
Yep.
If you weren't doing what you've done for the past 41 years, what could you see yourself doing professionally?
Well, I'll tell you this, what I wanted to do, which again, I was too small and too slow. I wanted to play professional football. I loved football. I just was crazy about it as a kid. I wish, like even on Facebook, they have this old school NFL. I love, I'm part of that group, and I love looking at all the old pictures. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's my Cleveland Browns guys or the Green Bay Packers or who's your team, Steelers?
Yeah, Steelers.
Even the Steelers, like looking at Jack Lampert, or Terry Bradshaw. I should hate Terry Bradshaw because he's.
But you can respect him.
I think he's one of the funniest individuals ever placed on this earth. He was a great quarterback. So I just look at that, and I did. I wanted to play professional football. So if I could have, which I know I didn't have the skill set to do it, that's what I would have wanted to do.
So I was going to be in the NBA and you were going to be in the NFL. You were closer to the NFL than I was closer to the NBA.
Oh, no, not much. The other thing, I'll just say this. I played Division III football, and it was still very important to me. But I went to graduate school and had the opportunity to be on the practice field and game field at UNC. And here I am right out of school, get done playing. I'm at UNC, I'm on their practice field, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at how fast and the skill and just the athleticism they had. And this was during the strike year of the NFL. And so the head athletic trainer, John Lacey at UNC, he's talking to this guy. And I'm standing there, his name is Mr. Lacey. He goes, hey, Brad, come here. I want you to meet somebody. And I don't know who this guy's standing next to him is. He goes, hey, I want you to meet Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, oh, my gosh. It's just I got goosebumps right now. Just that contrast of athleticism and the eliteness of these athletes is just unbelievable.
I mean, even in just the short time from when I was at Mercyhurst to when I go back and watch those games now, like basketball games, the speed of the game is so much faster. It's so much more physical than I ever remember it being. I mean, they're up and down the floor. There's so much more contact than when I used to play pickup or even just watch. I mean,
they
my
let
sister
it go
played.
too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, but it's just like, wow, these athletes are, and that's D1 now, but those are D2 athletes.
Yep.
Just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And do you remember Webster Slaughter for the Browns?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This may have been when you were a student at Mercyhurst. The Mercyhurst football team did a fundraiser, and they brought in the Cleveland Browns to play us in basketball. Okay. Does that sound familiar?
I think this was before me because I do remember you talking about this, and I think I even saw some photos of it.
And and I'm a Browns fan. I've been a Browns fan. Even brought a Browns hat, And so, wow, we're playing the Browns. You know, I'm like, I got Webster Slaughter. I'm guarding Webster Slaughter. And first possession, he comes down the court. Here he comes. I slap my hands on the court. I'm ready to go. He put a crossover move on me, went by me, slam dunked as I'm turning around watching him. I'm like, oh, I'm done.
Like,
I'm done.
You
Someone
got
else.
Webster.
You got Webster Slaughter.
Who else would have been there at that? Was Bernie there at that point, or was this?
I think he was, because, yeah, it could have been. I'm trying to think who the quarterback was. It could have been. Cleveland has been through so many quarterbacks. It's hard to know when it was, to be honest with you. But
Bernie, then Vinny Testaverde was there for a little bit.
it could have been the Vinny era. Would have been. What year did you graduate?
So I was at Mercyhurst from 97 to 2001.
Okay, this would have been before. So it could have been during the Bernie era, because he was there in the early 90s,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, but. And then I'm thinking, oh, I can go inside and play these guys. Okay, because I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I was lifting weights, strong and everything. And there was Brendan Hall. He was a second string linebacker. He was a big dude, about 6'3", 235. He's in the paint trying to post up. And I am pushing as hard as I can to get him out of the paint. He's just got his arm out like this, just holding me. Finally looks down at me and goes, dude, give it up. It's not going to work. I'm just like, what am I going to do? You know, these guys are just unbelievable.
Were you playing in like the main gym before?
Yeah, the main gym. But it just, that just the eliteness of athletes is amazing, and you don't realize it because TV gives you no perception.
No,
None.
You don't get
Zero.
any like speed, especially,
No.
right? Because I mean, I'm just thinking of basketball or football, right? You see it and you're like, because everybody's out there is fast, but when you're there live in person and you're close, you're like, holy cow!
Yeah,
I mean, these guys they're big, they're
Yep.
powerful, and they are fast.
fast. Yep,
So
nuts.
personal stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, so you and your wife have been married 40, coming up on 41 years. End of July here. What is your favorite trip you ever took with your wife? Where was it, and what was the
can
occasion?
it be with the family?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Wow. With the family, and this was cool. We had a 30-foot travel trailer, had a conversion van, had a chocolate lab who was 9 months old at the time, our 3 kids, put them all in the conversion van and went across the country to the Grand Tetons, to the Yellowstone, saw, what was it? Mount Rushmore.
Oh, wow.
Saw the Badlands. Saw where Custer's Last Stand was at Little Bighorn. And it was fantastic. I mean, you know.
How old were the kids?
Let's see. Jonas would have been 5. So it would have been around 2005, 2006. And, you know, so the whole family thing, that was just wonderful. The only problem we had is on the way back, coming back across Wyoming, it's 102 and our air conditioning goes out of the van.
Oh, my.
We have all the windows rolled down. You know, we were just beat red. I mean, it's that hot in the van. And the semis are coming by, and it's so loud because you got all the windows open. But that was really the only thing that
You're not
on
gonna
that
forget
whole
it.
trip that you would say I would want that changed. You know, not to have the air conditioning go, but yeah, that was a fantastic trip.
How long did that take you? A couple weeks?
We did it, if I remember, I was 16 or 18 days. We did it there and back.
You had it all mapped out ahead of time.
We did. And this was, again, before we didn't have cell phones.
Was this like triptychs? Did
Yep.
you have like?
Yep.
Yep.
AAA triptychs, you know, the old school. And it was on a whim. I can still remember in our house. I'm down, like we have a loft, and Kate says to me, hey, let's take a trip. I'm like, where do you want to go? She goes, Yellowstone. I'm like, let's go. Just like that.
Did you have a camper?
We did.
Okay, so it
We
wasn't
did.
like you had to rent one or something like that.
No, we had it already. We were a camping family. We went and camped different places, and but we never did a trip that big, you know. But I'll give Kate all the credit. She mapped it all out. She got all the campgrounds and this and that. How many nights we're staying in Yellowstone? How many nights we're staying in Custer Park in South Dakota? That was beautiful. She did all that. I just did all the driving. she had to play. Remember the organizer?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
her. She organized all of that. Yeah, I could still hear her up on the computer with the old AOL beep. You got mail and all that.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But yeah, that was a great trip. And as far as with Kate, her and I loved the Civil War, that era. And so we would go on trips before kids and even with kids. But this trip happened to be before. And we drove down to Texas. But on the way down, we went to all numerous battlefields. And she actually likes that part of history too.
Really?
So we had a really great time. Yeah, and she loves going to the ocean. We've had wonderful trips there too, but we've never been across the big pond. I don't know if, I know you do and you love it. But it's funny because both Kate and I are like, yeah, maybe. But, we want to get back to the I've never seen the Grand Canyon. I want to go to the Grand Canyon.
We did that 2 years ago.
How was it? I heard it's spectacular.
Yeah, we did a helicopter tour of it,
Oh, wow.
which was really cool. We were only there for a day because we stayed down in Sedona, and we brought the boys up. This was 2 Easters ago, so a year and a month ago or so. And we're like going to go up there. I was like, let's do a helicopter tour because we're only there one day. We're not going to get to see a whole lot if we don't. And it was spectacular because you're going on the helicopter and you're above the ground, maybe 100 feet. Underwhelming. And then as soon as you go over the rim, the bottom just drops out and you're miles above the ground. You're like, you literally lose your breath and it's just it's awe inspiring. And it just like, I love Arizona. Sedona is probably like God's country to
I've
me.
never been there either.
I would highly recommend because if you're going to the Grand Canyon, it's not far from there, a couple hours. We've done the last 3 Easters there with the boys.
Nice.
And wonderful, beautiful hikes. We would go hiking every morning. Just there's something about nature and hikes, and that area is so quiet. Purposefully, they don't have a lot of street lights so that at night, the sky is lit up with stars.
Wow.
So you're not kind of destroying God's creation.
Sure.
And I just feel closer and like I feel like I can recharge when I'm there and just get really close to my maker and be close with my family. So it's an important place. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend it.
We're planning on that when we retire. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a trip. And never been to California either. So hopefully we get up into that area too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kids, you have 3 ages.
Let's see. Zach's 31. Hannah's 27. Jonas is 23.
And you mentioned your oldest is a PA here
Yep.
in Erie. What do your other 2 do?
Our daughter is an LPN, and Jonas is finding himself, but he's working extremely hard. He works at Snap Tight, which is a company that makes fire engine hoses.
Yeah.
And then he's also working up at TA Travel, up the new IHOP. He's working 2 jobs. Jonas is our miracle, though. And not that our other kids aren't miracles.
Yeah.
I'm talking literally a God intervention brought his hand down. When Jonas was 13 months old, he was diagnosed with brain cancer. And we were told by the oncologists he has about a 10%, 12% chance to live. He had a medulloblastoma in 2 places. Intracranial pressure was through the roof. If they would have done a spinal on him, they said it would have killed him in the ER. That's how big his ventricles got in his brain. But he had 3 surgeries, stem cell replacement, radiation daily for 3 months during the summer, 3 bouts of chemotherapy. And you talk about a life-changing moment. That was it. We got down on our knees in our kitchen. Said, Lord, this is beyond our capabilities. We're giving this to you. This is yours. Tell us what to do. Guide us. Help us. Bless this whole situation that we have going on right now. And Ryan was like a clock. It just clicked. It just, boom. It was like everything changed. Because things weren't going good. at all. And all of a sudden it just all changed. But and I'm not making excuses for Jonas, but with all the radiation and chemo he had, we believe it did somewhat change his brain chemistry and just the development cognitively as well. So he was not ready for college when he was 18. He's 23 and wonderful person. And all of our kids are just amazing. But he's thinking of going back to school to try to be a PTA or a respiratory therapist. But he's working 2 jobs. I mean, I got to give him a lot of credit. You know, he's working, 12, 16 hours a day, trying to get enough money to go back to school and whatnot.
You got the Jacobson grit. This is a good thing.
Yeah. And so we're all very proud of all of our kids. And it's you reflect back, and as a parent, you make mistakes, but you try your best. But so again, there's God again coming into the scene, into the story, and directing where to go. You just got to ask.
Well, I'm going to keep the God thing going here.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask the exact same question that you asked me.
Okay.
If God is sitting right here with you, what's your one question you're going to ask him?
Wow. Why me? Why me? Why did you choose me to do what you want me to do? Why not someone else? Why not someone else who was supposed to be at Mercyhurst? Because I believe God put me at Mercyhurst. I had to go through the process. I had to do my due diligence, but he opened up the doors. He provided the opportunity. I just needed to complete the process. So I guess the question I would ask him is, why me? And see what he had to say, because I've loved almost every minute of the 41 years. It's been fantastic. So that's what I would ask him.
Yeah. Well, you've been on a heck of a ride, and the ride's not over. you're just getting warmed up, Brad.
I don't know, man. It's
another 41.
Well, I'll tell you what, and you know this better than anybody. You wake up in the morning, Ryan, and it's just like, oh my God.
The joints?
The hip, the knees, the shoulders. Just this past year, I had carpal tunnel release done. I had an arthrodesis on my thumb because of an old football injury. But it's just, it's sad that as we age, we start, my dad would always, because we'd make fun of him, like, Dad, you're getting up slow. He says, you wait, your day's coming, your day's coming. And you're the fixer, you're the one that's out there replacing all those joints. So
yeah, but I'm a firm believer in we as human beings doing our own part too. And I one thing I always admired about you was, I remember I'd go over to the gym, I'd be playing basketball, working out. You were working out.
Oh yeah.
You always took care of yourself. You always took care of your body. You realize that was a gift from God, and you have stayed in shape your entire life. You still look like you're in great shape. And, I'm a firm believer in that, right? Like, I look at people that aren't getting out, moving, exercising. They get overweight, they get chronic diseases, whether it's obesity, whether it's diabetes, heart disease. And then their quality of life just, quite frankly, sucks, right? So we can point fingers all we want and say, oh, poor me, poor me. And some things are out of our control, but a lot of things I think are within our control. And that's what I tell my patients all the time. It's just like, get out, get active. Like, right after I got done with work, I went down to the peninsula. I went for a 6-mile walk. I can't really run anymore because of my hips, but still got a brisk 6-mile walk.
I got a question. Who's going to fix your hips?
I'm working on some mirrors. Yeah, I get that question quite frequently. I'm not quite ready yet, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Was Jeff Jaglowski around when you were around?
He was a year or two below me.
Because he's an ortho.
Yeah,
and he just had his hip done.
I saw something about that.
Yeah.
Is he down in Texas or something?
He is, I think, in the Houston area.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think him or myself because we're both relatively young,
Yeah.
like needing hip replacements. But you'd be surprised how many 40-year-old hips that I've done, and that really, really bad hips. One of my really good buddies from high school, he was on the podcast, Justin Johnson. Not a HIPAA because we talked about it on the podcast, but I did both of his hips. I did one of his knees. He needs his other knee done.
Wow.
But
You think there's a big genetic
absolutely,
factor?
yeah. His and mine. And I think I did see Jeff's x-rays. Like I think he shared them, the pre-op and post-op x-rays. You know, a lot of it is genetic, and some of it's a little bit developmental. But for mine, it's femoral acetabular impingement. I have a very shallow socket or acetabulum. My femoral head, it doesn't have much coverage, so it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It's going to wear out prematurely.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I see when the younger people. It's usually some type of developmental thing, right? Like developmental dysplasia of the hip, or some type of morphological issue that we see, especially the younger people.
Are there warning signs to these people, say 20, 30, or you know what I'm saying, that they're predisposed to this?
You know, a lot of, you know who gets it a lot is actually like hockey goalies, because of the weird position that they're in. I couldn't even remotely get into that because I don't have any internal rotation of my hip. And so you're putting your femur and your femoral head and neck into a very abnormal position. But yeah, I mean, groin pain in a young or relatively young person, when I was 30s is when I got diagnosed with it, and I was self-diagnosed. I happened to take an x-ray. I wasn't looking for the problem, and I thought I had a psoas, tendonitis going on, because it was in my groin. And my psoas snaps almost every single time that I do like a straight leg race, just on the right side. And I was training for a half marathon, and I was getting SI pain, and I thought it was my SI joint, and some psoas tendonitis. Got an SI joint injection, took care of that pain, didn't take care of my groin pain, and just happened to get an x-ray, and
Surprise.
yeah, wish I wouldn't have gotten that x-ray. But well, Brad, next thing that we're going to do the 7th inning sawbone shoe stretch. So
Okay.
I'm a huge shoe guy.
I see that. Those are some serious.
Yeah,
kicks,
these are
man.
some old school Jordans.
Wow.
The little after you were taping his ankles, but what are you wearing there?
I am wearing actually a pair of FootJoy golf shoes. Yes. And even my wife's like, why are you going to wear those?
Are those
I'm like,
camo?
They
too?
are. And she's like, why would you want to wear those? And I'm like, because there's a story.
Yeah.
And so the story is, and again, bear with me here. I got these for Christmas, this past Christmas, from Kate, who is just the world to me. I love her to death. Okay. So that part of it, it's from Kate.
Yeah.
Okay. The other part of it is that you look at it and it's camo, and you're like, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, that to me, when you look at it, that's me. Because sometimes you got to just be in the background, you got to just go with the flow, and you got to just not always be the show. You know what I'm saying? And you got to, because people have even said to me, Brad, how have you worked at Mercyhurst for 41 years? I'm like, just do my job,
Yeah.
you do your job, you stay focused, and you just, you get involved in other stuff, but you got to stay focused. All right. And you just got to be in the background sometimes, And so the camo's that, but also represents me because my outdoors.
Yeah.
I love to hunt and fish, and you know that. And matter of fact, one of my deer hunting spots is right near your
Carpenter Road, right?
Yeah, Carpenter Road. And but I bow hunt, and it's funny, I never hunted until I graduated from college, because I was always playing sports in high school, and really wasn't a hunting family. My dad hunted a little bit, but we weren't a hunting family. We played sports, just from sport to sport to sport. Well, that ended when I married Kate. Her dad was a huge hunter. Went out to British Columbia and Montana and Wyoming and got bighorn sheep and elk and all sorts of stuff.
Did you do any of that with him?
I have not. No, and the sad thing about that is he was towards the end of his career. He was a dentist. It was a year or two after we got married, he had a stroke, which really disabled him. And, I mean, you talk about a tough-as-nails guy. He lost pretty much function all on his, I forget which side it was, but he would literally, he was in the cane and the brace, and he would go on walks, and they're from Lakewood, New York, just to keep his cardiovascular system as healthy as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this guy's, post-stroke, late 60s, 70s, falling on the pavement numerous times, getting all nicked up, scratched up. But again, didn't stop him. Just kept right on going, and it's just like, I had such great role models, just as far as and I try to impart, and I know this is about the shoe, but in today's generation, in this entitlement, and I want it, and I want it now. I'm like, that's not life.
Yeah.
It's not life.
Tough lesson I'm trying to teach my boys.
Yeah.
It's not immediate. Immediate gratification is not something that I ever got, you ever got.
Nope.
And I don't think you want it because you're not going to appreciate it.
That's right.
Right? It's that delayed gratification and having to work for it and having to earn it as opposed to someone just giving it to you,
Right.
thinking that you're entitled, that you deserve it because you're this person or that person. I mean, that didn't exist where I grew up.
I was peddling papers at the age of 11.
Mm-hmm.
The Grit was called The Grit, the Pennsylvania Liar.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite words. My best friend Jared, he said if there's one word, Ryan, that I could ever use to describe you, it was always grit.
Yeah.
And I love it because I do believe, very much like you said, your father kind of taught you
Yep.
the importance of hard work and perseverance and resiliency. My parents taught me the same things: resiliency, persistence, and grit. Just like if you work hard enough,
Yep.
you can achieve it.
Yep. Very true. But the camo, again, I already talked about that, but that represents the outdoors part of me: hunting, fishing, bow hunting, nature. Love nature. My wife and I were, again, blessed to have a home that sits on 7 acres, but is adjacent to another about 300 that other people own. So we go out every night, sit in our front yard, and just bird watch, deer watch. I'm golfing today. My wife texted, just had a coyote come through the front. We know the fawns are being born because they're on the prowl. They're looking. We have fawns being. We had 2 years in a row, not so far this year. Now we didn't right after the fawns were born. We happened to just be at the right place, the right time, and to see the mother and the fawns, like, it was just amazing. And I like. There they are, and there they go. I mean, and the fawns look like little dogs. I mean, they're tiny, tiny little things. And so it's not just about the hunting and fishing. It's about God's beautiful, beautiful environment that He's given to us to watch. And we love bird watching. We love hummingbirds. It's always a monumental day when they come back, and it's always sad when they leave. And my favorite bird's the rose-breasted grosbeak. It's black with a red chest. They just showed up a week ago, as well as the hummingbirds. So that represents that part of it. But then on the bottom, we have spikes. And again, they're rubber. Wouldn't do anything to your floors. But this to me represents the times that you just have to dig in, and to set your firm foundation and know when that is and stand firm in what you believe. So, I could have picked a lot of shoes, but I'm like, man, that really
Perfect.
says it all, kind of.
Honestly, some of the best parts of this podcast, from the 30-some episodes that I've done, have been around the shoe stories. If you get a chance, do you know who Dr. David Hutzel is?
I know the name.
So he's an internal medicine doc, very dear friend of mine. I've hiked with him on a couple different occasions. He was on my podcast. He's actually my internal medicine physician, but he wore hiking shoes. I'm not going to give it away. I want you to watch his episode.
Okay, I will.
Beautiful, beautiful story of how him and his wife kind of reconnected through a time when he was struggling in his life. And it was raw. You want to talk about some tears? Like it was emotional for him to share it. It was emotional for me to hear it. And it was beautiful. And he was just like very authentic and genuine. So
nice.
Nothing too special here other than, my classic pair of Jordans. These are Jordan 2 low, retro, and they're the Christmas blacks. The funny thing is, I'm obviously a huge Jordan fan. My family friends know that, but Brad was sharing a story with me when he first got down to the basement, and he said he looked at Luca, my youngest, and said, "Are you a Jordan fan?" And he's like, "Yeah." And obviously he's a Jordan fan because Dad's a Jordan fan. And all three of the boys are Jordan fans because of that. But just the story you told about, taping Michael's ankles when you were down at UNC was, I mean, just it gives me chills. It's like your Lawrence Taylor thing to me.
I know.
It's
It's
like,
still, yeah. Yeah. It's,
he's that one guy that if I had a chance to meet, like I'm not somebody that worships professional athletes by any means, but like he's that one guy that it sounds just like kind of goofy and corny, but like he really did help to motivate me to get me to where I'm at because of his work ethic and his grit and his perseverance and persistence and grind. Like just how intense he was on the court. I kind of took that and was just like, this is how I'm going to be with what I do for my day job. I'm going to be that focused. I want to be the best at what I'm doing. And because it takes that. I mean, it takes all those characteristics if you really want to be somebody that's not just mediocre.
do you know he's a car owner in NASCAR?
I did hear, maybe you told me that.
Yeah.
Someone shared that with me. Actually, you know who told me that is one of my business partners. His wife's college roommate met Jordan at a race, and she
He's
shared
at most
that.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he owns 2 cars, I think. And him and Denny Hamlin, I don't know if that name's familiar, number 11, they are together, like joint owners in that.
Okay.
And what's his name? Wallace.
Rusty?
No, he's long. Rusty's long gone.
Mike?
Oh, no, it'll come to me in a minute. He's actually African-American driver. He runs one of the cars. I'm trying to think who the other driver is, but Jordan's at the majority of the races.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so if you ever want to meet him, get a hot pit pass. I'm serious.
Well, that's what she said.
Serious.
She's like, I met him at the race, and she's like, I could get you.
Like go to I don't know. You ever been to a race?
I went to the Watkins Glen race. We took the boys there 2 or 3 summers ago. It was another business associate. His son was running one of the trucks in the NASCAR truck series, and we had pit passes.
There you go.
So we were down there. I didn't see Jordan walking around, but it was just a really cool experience. Like the energy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to hear those engines roar, to like, I don't think you even have to be a race enthusiast to like get excited about that kind of stuff.
And I'm a NASCAR fan, not as much now as what I used to be, but and everyone, that's just this big old redneck thing. And it's not. I mean, sure, there's some aspects of that to it, and that's where its roots came from, but there's so much other family oriented. Like you see families there. And everyone's not just this beer drinking hillbilly guy.
Yeah.
They're not. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. And with some of the, you talked about trips. Like we would go to Watkins Glen, my wife and I with the kids.
That's a really cool area.
And we would stay with my sister, but then would go into the infield and just walk during the race, so you get to see all parts of the track. In the back stretch, they're going 180 miles. An hour down that back stretch. When you see them, it's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And I'm like, these guys are nuts.
Yeah. I mean, one little false move, right?
Yeah.
I went to the Brickyard 400 too when I was in residency, and that's somewhere out in Michigan, right?
No, Brickyard's at Indianapolis.
Or Indianapolis, okay.
Yeah. But
it was the Brickyard.
There was a Michigan race too so
I think we did a little road trip, my buddy and I. It was the Brickyard 400.
Okay, that would have been in Indianapolis.
Okay.
But I'm serious. If you have a connection, like especially like if you could get into the Brickyard 400, I guarantee Michael Jordan's going to be there. He will be, and if you could get a pit pass,
yeah. Kurt,
guaranteed.
We got to hit up our friend here, see if we can get one of those.
Yep. And you can see, I mean, he's 6'5", so
yeah, probably
he towers
6'4" now. He's shrinking, right?
But don't we all? But he towers above everybody. He's very recognizable at a race.
So this is perfect timing for the Sawbones Challenge. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
So it's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna surprise you here in a little bit. we'll be right back after the Sawbones Challenge.
Okay.
Coming up. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
All right, here we are. Sawbones Challenge. We're back outside finally. This is the first
I'm going to
one.
whoop them. You watch.
Yeah, we put some one-on-one too. Anyways, I'm going to be Webster Slaughter.
Oh.
We have to put the hoop down so I can dunk on it.
So you can do a crossover.
So what we're going to do is the first one to make 5 shots.
Okay.
And we shoot from this line right here.
Okay.
I always let my guests go first.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So
You got to make 5 in a row?
no. First one to make 5. You can miss 10 in a row, but so
Okay.
you'll shoot one, then I'll shoot one. We'll just alternate.
Gotcha.
The first one to make 5.
Okay. Now, in my old days, this was deadly for me from the top of the key.
Was it? Is that your
Oh,
shot?
it was. It was. Now, oh boy. Nope.
It's gonna take a little bit of time to get to that rhythm. Plus, like I said, it's a little smaller ball.
Oh my.
Uh-oh, Luca. 1-0, Lou.
Oh, bad.
All right, Lou, we're gonna come into it off the pass.
You know what? He was doing, look, he was out there practicing earlier
It was
today.
at 8 foot.
Is that what he was doing?
This is the first time this spring I've been out here shooting. Uh-oh. He came to play, folks.
That's right. The old adage too, man. The legs go. You know, when the legs go, man, it's awful.
Oh, it's a 3-point competition now.
Oh, knotted up at 2.
2.
Nope. Uh-oh.
Is it just 3 points?
Yeah. First one to 5. It's 2-2 right now. Woo. There it is. Uh-oh. Oh, no! And you couldn't hit it if you were aiming at it, right?
No. I have a motto right now. I can't
4-2. 4-3! All right, Luca.
close.
This
Making
is it.
Making it
This
interesting.
is it.
No. Giving me a
Luca, never
chance.
leave the door open. Never leave the door open! That's why! It's 4-4. Never leave the door open.
Carry.
There it is.
Oh. Oh, it was so on. Game.
Money. There it is.
Here comes redemption. I gotta make it or it's over, Lou. Force overtime.
Woo! Bang.
We keep going.
Keep going.
Oh. No more, Luca. No more.
Oh,
Sawbones Challenge.
the man.
Valiant effort there. Pushed it to the limit.
Yep.
So. All right, we're back from the Sawbones Challenge. Brad, I just want to thank you again for coming here, spending this time with me.
It's my pleasure.
I mean, it's been 20-some years since I met you at Mercyhurst, and spent a lot of time in the classroom with you, and always valued you as a professor, but also as a human being. And as I mentioned, as we were recording this, like, this has just been, it has absolutely exceeded my expectations, as do most of my episodes. But this was just like, it was very deep.
Yeah.
Probably deeper than any of the other podcasts that I've done, or close to, if not the deepest. Thank you
My pleasure.
for
Ron.
everything,
Oh,
for giving me a chance 20 some years ago when you brought me into the sports med athletic training program at Mercyhurst, for being my mentor and teacher back then, for continuing to be my friend and mentor to this day. And you have a beautiful wife, beautiful family.
Thank you.
It's been awesome to kind of like hear stories about their growth, and it's no shocker you're in love with your wife.
Oh, yeah. I am.
You beam it, and that's awesome. And your love for God is
Amen.
awesome, and your family, and just your profession. To just hear your passion when you talk about the students, I mean, it kind of gives me a little tear in my eye too, because that is so important to me. With, my dad was a teacher, 3 older sisters are teachers, my wife's a teacher. So to hear somebody that's given so much of their life to educate others, and that was your connection, that was your moment, was your students.
Yeah, that's why I do what I do. That's the reason, and it is just so satisfying. It just is. It brings a smile on my face and it brings a tear to my eye, because again, like what we talked about, you get to know each other, you become a part of each other, and then it ends, but I'm just so glad that I've had that opportunity, that God has put me in this place to meet a wonderful gentleman like you, Ryan, who just exemplifies a father, a professional, a person who cares. And there's not as many out there anymore that are like that, and, I truly believe your kids are honored to have a father like you, and your wife, because I can tell how much they mean to you, and how that God has given them to you to take care of,
That means more than any professional accolade, accomplishment that I could ever receive or get. I mean, that's my number one priority and goal, is to be a loving husband and father, and to raise those 3 boys into gentlemen, and to hopefully pass on the gifts and lessons that I've been taught by my parents, by my family, by my friends, by my teachers and mentors. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's been great.
Everybody, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, share with your friends, leave comments, suggestions. If you have any guests that you'd like to see on the show, I'm always taking suggestions on that. And again, a huge thank you to my buddy, my mentor, my teacher, Brad Jacobson, for the time that he took out of his day and his family to be with me tonight. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Have a great night.
Well, I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
As a disclaimer, this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professional
from any such conditions.